Hi guys, welcome to another lesson on biology. Today we are talking about movement. Now, what is movement? Movement is simply the ability of organisms to move from one place to another. That is as simple as that. Now, all organisms that can move have various organelles or organs or mechanisms for movement. Some possess flagella for movement, and human beings, for example, also possess legs for movement. So all organisms that move have their specific organelles or organs for movement. What are the reasons for movement? Why do we move, or why do living organisms move from one place to another? One is to search for food. We all do this every time. For example, when you stand up from your bed to move into the kitchen to cook, that is movement. So that is moving to search for food. So that's one major reason for movement. Another one is to escape from danger. So when organisms move to avoid danger, or to avoid hurt, or to avoid being preyed upon by another organism, that's another reason for movement. Another one is to respond to stimulus. We've talked about this when we're talking about irritability. So when organisms move to respond to stimulus, positively or negatively, is another reason for movement. And another reason for movement is for the sake of reproduction, to find a mate or to find another organism to reproduce with. So that's another reason for movement. Now, under movement, we want to talk about cyclosis or cytoplasmic streaming. So what I mean by this is just the mass rotational streaming, or we could say the mass rotational movement of the cytoplasm and its content in the cells with the vacuole. So it's just basically the cytoplasm moving with everything that is in it along with the vacuole. Now, in some cells or in some cases, the streaming or movements may be restricted to a particular region or part of the cell. And in some cases, the streaming or the cytoplasmic movement is subjected to the whole cell, to all the parts of the cell. So it can move to any part of the cell. So now let's discuss different organisms, their organelles or organs for movement, and their mechanism of movement. So number one is the amoeba. Now amoeba possesses pseudopodia, which is its organelle for movement, and the mechanism for movement is cytoplasmic streaming or cyclosis. Another organism is paramecium. Now paramecium possesses cilia. That is the organelle that it possesses for movement, and the mechanism for movement is beating the cilia against the water. So the cilia is just like a thread-like structure. So the paramecium basically beats the water or uses the thread to drag itself or move itself along the water. So that is that. Now, Euglena possesses flagellum, and flagellum function is a very long thread-like structure also. Cilia is shorter than flagellum, but flagellum is a longer structure, and the mechanism of movement of Euglena using flagellum is the lashing movement of the flagellum. So the flagellum basically moves or whips the water so that it can move from one part of the water to another. Another organism is the hydra. Now the hydra possesses tentacles. That's the organelle or organ it possesses for movement, and the mechanism of movement, that means how it moves. It moves by swimming, by swaying, by hopping, or by somersaulting. So that's the mechanism of movement of hydra. Now the earthworm possesses chetae. That is the organelle, chetae, for movement. Then the mechanism of movement, how they move, is by crawling. We could also say by gliding. So the earthworm moves by crawling or gliding through on the surface where it is moving. Another organism is the fish or fishes, and they possess fins for movement. That's the organelle they possess for movement. And their mechanism of movement, how they move, is by swimming. Also, the toads and the frogs possess limbs, just like humans, but their own limbs are different, and their mechanism of movement is by hopping. So that's the end of today's lesson or today's video on movement. See you in another lesson or another video. Bye for now.